Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. If you want to design and build a beautiful website, you can do it all in one place with Squarespace.
Blah. Renegade.
How large is Uranus?
Honey, I don't know.
No, the planet.
Oh.
Sha'an, get your mind out of the gutter.
I'm going to put this over here. Hello everyone, welcome back to my studio. Today I'm going to be talking about productivity. I've been freelancing for almost 10 years now as an illustrator. I also was a designer at an agency, so I was responsible for my own tasks there because it was quite a small business. And now I've probably been full-time illustration, working for myself for 4 or 5 years. I've had to be responsible for all of my tasks and my business. I feel like I'm quite efficient. I always meet my deadlines, and so I feel like I have some things to say on the topic. I'm going to be talking about the techniques that I have created for myself and that have really worked wonders for me. So if it helps you, great. And if it doesn't, apologies. I'm making this video because I did not have these tools when I first started. I used to chuck all-nighters all the time. I'd be like down to the deadline. And I don't think it's healthy. I used to have a much worse work-life balance, and I don't want that for you guys. So I want to give you guys the tools that I've developed so that you don't have to like go through the trial and error that I went through. Also, in this time, I just want to clarify that it's not important to get everything done and do work because we're dealing with a pandemic, but it is important to feel productive, to feel like you're ticking things off, to feel like you're incorporating personal projects into work time, and to feel like you're getting housework and stuff done. All of these things, whether it be personal work, commercial work, or just daily tasks in your life, can be made easier with the to-do list system that I'm about to tell you about. So the 4 to-do lists that I use to keep productive, and it sounds excessive, but it will make sense in a second. The long-term to-do list, a weekly priorities list, a weekly brain dump list, and a daily task list. The reason there are so many to-do lists is because you want to get an overview of everything you need to do, and then you also want a very extensive list of every task that it will take to get to those goals, creating very bite-sized pieces that make it super easy to start tasks because they're not overwhelming. And by creating these lists, you're wrapping your head around the project. It's kind of equal parts to-do list, equal parts mind mapping, like what you need to do. Okay, so the long-term to-do list. This changes very infrequently. Like this doesn't change often. Really long-term projects like my books take at least 3 months for final artwork, not even considering doing the manuscript and like the back and forth with my publisher. But basically like major goals or major projects that will be around for a long time. And the reason I do this is because it keeps me going in the right direction. My long-term to-do list is on a chalkboard in my studio, so I see it all the time. If I'm like, oh, I've got nothing left to do, I look at that and be like, what can I do to get closer to these long-term goals, these really big long-term goals? At the start of the week, I'll make sure that I put in all of my scheduled things, like for example, with whether I have meetings or calls or seeing my family or friends, you know what I mean? Things that have been assigned times and days are already in my weekly plan. These next few lists is what I do every single week. At the start of the week, on a Monday, I will start my weekly priorities list. The weekly priority list is basically all of the projects and personal projects I have open, whether it be videos that I want to make, client work, or potential client work that we're in communications with. I don't expect to be able to focus on more than 4 at a time. And what it does is focus me on these things so that all of my next tasks are going to be related to these 4 projects. The brain dump list is one of my favorite lists because this is basically where you kind of like brain vomiting every single subtask you can think of to achieve those priorities for the week. Like it's just cathartic, is that the word? It's therapeutic for me. This is where you're starting to do subtasks. If one of my priorities for the week is getting this video done, my subtask might be plan points, might be film the video, might be edit the video, upload the video, create thumbnail, blah. So all of the subtasks that it will take to get to that point. I find that when I put it to paper, I don't have to think about it anymore because I know that I can access it at any time. So for me, it's like a really important part of the start of the week. Okay, so next is my daily tasks list. And this is something I do every single day. So the first thing I do after my skincare, I'll sit down and I'll look at my brain dump list, and then I will pull a few of those into my day and I will write them down as very bite-sized tasks. So if one of my brain dump tasks was edit a video, my task for the day would be like cut video, color grade video, add title screens, add ad read, export. You know what I mean? Things that are super, super small tasks that allow you to not even question whether you should do it or not. Because you're always just like, I'd rather just watch Netflix. I don't want to work. I just want to play Animal Crossing all day, you know? The idea is to make it as easy as possible to start before your brain can be like, actually, I don't want to do that. I mean, there's stuff that's so small that it really just feels not overwhelming at all. And what this helps you do is it helps you realize that every single thing that you do will lead you to completing those weekly priorities. I think a big part of being productive is kind of like relaying into the next task and making it really easy for yourself to start the next task. The long-term goals is like the reservoir of water, right? And then the weekly priority list is like the jug of water you keep in your fridge. The brain dump task is like the glass of water. And then the daily tasks are the sips of water. You know when you don't feel like drinking water? Drinking a whole freaking jug of water, that's awful. But if you have little sips, you'll eventually have enough water for the day. Also, you should put drinking water in there. Keep track of anything that you want to get done. Once again, I just want to reiterate, it isn't just limited to like work tasks. I also use this method and mix in personal tasks.
I don't know if you guys can hear me because it's raining and it's really loud in my studio right now, but I just wanted to end by saying one of the reasons this to-do list system really works for me is because it's quite intuitive. If something, oh my God, it's so loud. If something comes up, it's really, really easy to change your schedule around because it's not assigned to a time, it's not assigned to a duration. It might not work for some people because of that, but for me, it really, really works. The way that I'm pulling the tasks from my brain dump list is I'm pulling it based on urgency first and then how much I want to do it. So even if it's a task that I don't want to do, if it's amongst other tasks that are kind of not as fun, it feels like I'm making the choice to do it, and that makes it also a lot easier to begin. I'm going to jump into a Q&A in a second, but I just wanted to end that because I kind of left it hanging and it didn't really make any sense. I'll see you in a second for the Q&A.
I asked you guys to ask me any questions you had about productivity because I just didn't think that I'd be able to cover everything that you wanted to know because it's just very personal and I don't know what you guys are struggling with. But before we get into that, I just want to say thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring my videos. I really appreciate it. They're obviously awesome. I've used them for so long. I'm actually going to put a free to download to-do list template into my store. I only came up with this video a few days ago, and the reason I can so easily be flexible with putting things in my store and making new pages on my website and doing all of this stuff is because Squarespace is so easy to use. You can go to squarespace.com/furrylittlepeach and you'll get a free trial for 2 weeks and a 10% discount on your first purchase. I really, really recommend it. If you don't have a website, do it. If you're with someone else, trust me, this is better. Do it. Get a free trial, try it out, costs nothing. You can cancel if you hate it, but you're not going to hate it. And if you do,
Don't be rude.
well, I'll just question your taste. Okay, now we have the Q&A portion of the video. So I asked you guys on my community tab on YouTube and also on my Instagram story. So I've got a few questions from Instagram, a few questions from YouTube. So my first question is, when you're creatively exhausted but still have jobs to finish, how do you power through without sacrificing the quality of your work? I guess like a big part of being a professional creative is preparing enough so that you have enough time to finish the job. But if that doesn't happen, which sometimes like it happens to me as well, I think the best thing is to work in a clever way. And for me, that means taking a step back and looking at all of the things that I need to do and some things that can be cut without sacrificing the end result. So as an example, in my last video, I was running out of time or I really wanted to upload the video. So I didn't put like the questions over my Q&A. Like that's one thing that I did that saved me probably like 30 minutes of like screenshotting or finding the questions, screenshotting them because I didn't do that prior and then overlaying them. But right now I've already done that. So I won't have to do that. I won't have to worry about that this time. We're learning from your mistakes as well. It's really important to be honest with your clients. If you're not going to get it done and it's going to be a terrible thing, you can be like, hey, if we extend the deadline by a couple of days, it's going to be a much better result. Because your client doesn't want to pay for subpar work. If it's going to mean the difference between like a good piece and like an amazing piece, I am sure they're going to be fine with it. Unless there's like a already scheduled thing that means that they can't move the deadline, most clients will be fine with moving. You just have to communicate it early enough and be honest with them. I would really love your advice for someone who wants to get back into art. I was always doing art throughout school, but life happened and I stopped. I'm rusty and I find I have to learn a lot all over again. Do you have any advice on making art for yourself, how to mess around and learn without having the pressure of it being good or seen by others? Thank you for everything you do. I love your art and your videos inspire me to get out of this year 10 art block. Oh, 10-year art block, whoops. I was like, year 10, so young. Yes, I don't really share my sketchbooks for this reason. Like I obviously will share a spread here or there, but like I make a point not to share my sketchbooks because I want them to be a safe place for me to play. And I think creating a safe space for yourself to play without fear of other people judging you is really, really important. I don't incorporate enough personal work as I'd like to into my practice, but I think that knowing that you don't have to share everything is really, really important. Like, if you're feeling weird about your work and you want to learn new shit and you want to try new things, screw like consistency. I've got like 200,000 followers on Instagram. Not flexing. I'm just explaining that like there's a lot of eyeballs on my work. And I also have like 150,000 on YouTube. It can feel like a lot of pressure. Like you want to make stuff and share, people be like, hey, I'm still here, but it's not worth it if you're not creating work that you're happy with. So part of getting to that point of being very happy with your work is practicing and screwing up and doing all these things and knowing that you can do them in private without having to share them. We don't have to share anything. I could share nothing for the next year and work on the thing. I don't want to do that, but I'm just saying, like, as an example, I don't need to be making stuff and sharing it. It's up to you to keep it private for yourself and only share when you're happy. Screw consistency. Sorry, everyone that's waiting for my videos. Next question. Okay, during these weird times, do you have any exercises for productivity that aren't too pressuring and that are gentle towards mental health? I know a lot of people are beating themselves up, myself included, over the fact that they don't feel like they're being as productive as everyone seems to be. Once again, it's not about like getting everything done. It's just feeling productive, feeling like you've done one thing for the day. I really feel like my days are better when I feel like I've just at least tackled one thing, because then I give myself permission to play Animal Crossing for a few hours. You don't want like your downtime to be filled with guilt, because then it's not really relaxing. You just feel like shit. Exercises, I guess like this to-do list system is an exercise for me because it's a part of my week and my every single day. But another thing could be like, you know, using your sketchbook for like an hour a day, or like setting aside time every day to feel productive, not necessarily like make huge leaps, but just take little steps. How do you usually know when you should finally take a break? When you die? No, just kidding. Obviously, when you're exhausted and you feel like crap, take a break. But it's really, really important to schedule in breaks regardless of that. This is why this is really good, because I can see how many tasks that I've done and how much they're affecting my progress to the final goal. And if I feel like I've done like 3 subtasks, I feel like I've earned Animal Crossing time, you know? When I played Animal Crossing during the day, oh my God, I did not stop playing. So it's been like a really nice reward at the end of the day, like creating personal boundaries and being like, you can't be trusted to play during the day because you will not stop playing. So like getting my stuff done, I'm like, oh, just a little bit more and then I can play Animal Crossing. And now I can go into my virtual world and do a bunch of more to-dos. Do you ever struggle with starting a new project due to the feeling anxious or overwhelmed by it? Or are you able to just jump in? If so, do you have any tips on how to get over the fear of starting something new? This is my tips. I'm sorry to like keep promoting this, but the reason that I'm so like, this is like my religion, is because it really helps me do that. Obviously I have heaps of times where I'm like nervous to start, or it makes me feel really anxious. There's lots of times where I'm just like mulling over a project, or I'm like for days being like, I don't want to do that. And I know it's coming up and I know I have to start. When I finally jump into it, I'm like, oh, it's not so bad. It's just like in your head. So if you are scared to do it, like, why don't you just try starting and see if it's actually as big a deal as you're making? Because often it's not. Next, how do you tackle days where you wake up later than expected? We do that a lot. I would, first of all, work later. Like usually because I've got like a set task to do, I will just push my day forward, especially because I'm working for myself. It's not that big of a deal. I would also try and go to bed earlier than that following night, because you've learnt from your mistakes, right? You know, sometimes in your head, it can just be like about relieving guilt and being like, it's fine. You'll do better tomorrow, and just move on. Would love to find out your method for choosing products, planners, etc. Does this type of paper matter? Is it the layout? Been craving a video from you after I just binge watched them all in the last few weeks. So excited. Oh, so cute. The paper doesn't matter to me. Obviously, like I have to be able to write on it. Can't be like plastic. I really like this question because I really want to explain this during like the start of this video, but I thought no one would care. So like someone has given me permission to explain it. Basically what I look for at a planner is this kind of layout. I like week to a page, and I usually like the whole week on one side and like room for tasks on the other side. This is the year task planner by Appointed & Co. And this is the closest to my perfect planner I've ever seen. The month overview is at the start of every single month. That's really important to me because I'm not going to go like this to look at what I'm doing now. Does that make sense? I want it to be just there so I can be like, do I have anything this week? Boom, 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 boom. Also, it has these little like tabs for each month, which I really appreciate. Ideally, it would have even space for every single day. Like the weekends would be the same size as the weekdays. But because like a lot of people don't work on the weekends, usually the weekends are like squished into one. And I don't like that because sometimes I do work on weekends. I don't really like tie my work days into the weekdays. I just work when I need to work and obviously take a couple days off a week. I also would like if this wasn't ring bound, but this is the closest that I've found to the layout that is perfect for me. How do you get the motivation to work on something for a long period of time? Love you working the lots. Thank you. I am blessed because I'm very goal driven. So I'm like, once I begin, I'm like, gotta get there, gotta get there, gotta get there. You know what I mean? As I said, starting is like the absolute hardest part for me. If you find it difficult to like do long tasks, write down everything you need to do, like how I've done here or whatever works for you, and use that as a guide when you're feeling a bit lost. But also like knowing when to take breaks. So like if you're feeling really tired and you've done 2 hours of work, you're not going to be more productive by just continuing to work. You're going to be more productive if you go for a walk, refresh, come back and sit down with like a clear head. How do you deal with setbacks/mistakes? Sometimes it's hard to stay positive/motivated/productive after a mistake. I personally feel worthless for days and have really hard time not to panic about other projects that could go wrong as well. I feel like I've done that too. For me, it's less about like setbacks and mistakes. For me, it's like client feedback, and it's not really like a mistake. It's more like, hey, can we change this? And I've already in my head been like, this is what the project is. Like, usually I freak out for a second, I feel blue, and then I like take a step back and be like, okay, how do we fix this problem? And then I set a plan to fix the problem. Maybe I take a break, then I come back and like begin fixing the issue. I guess the short answer is don't dwell on it. Don't like beat yourself up, because that's just like, what is that? What was that thing? Worrying is like something yourself twice. Worrying is suffering twice. Now we're on to the Instagram questions. How do you stay focused on the less strictly creative arty aspects of life, i.e. paperwork, admin, etc.? Some things just suck and you just have to push through. Like I don't love doing a bunch of emails. That's why I've like kind of outsourced that task to Chris. Also like managing the store. I don't love packing orders as much as I used to, especially when it's in the bulk of when we first release stuff. So like I personally outsource as much as I can so that I can focus on the fun part. What I like to do is imagine like the end result. That really helps me stay focused. All of these things should lead to somewhere else. So you should be like picturing your dream self and realizing that those tasks, you need to do those tasks in order to get to that point. And if you don't need to do those tasks in order to get to that point, why are you doing the tasks? Don't torture yourself. I prefer practice makes progress rather than practice makes perfect. What do you think? Who wants to be perfect anyway? Am I right, boys? I think what the saying is referring to is like doing the stuff for the progress rather than the end result. It's the climb. It's the climb?
Yes, it is, Sha'an.
How can you break up your work time and play time when you're doing both at home? If you can't be trusted to give yourself a break and you can't be trusted to take guilt-free downtime, put it in your schedule so that it becomes like a to-do. Sorry, but you're just going to have to be punished like that. Is multitasking good? Being able to juggle tasks is really good because it gives you flexibility, and like when you're waiting on client feedback, you can be doing this. Like I think it's really good. But doing too many things and not being able to focus fully is not great because you're never going to finish anything. If you can juggle things in the way that you're achieving small tasks, like if you're doing video editing here, then I'm doing some painting over here, then I'm doing some commercial work over here. If you can juggle those things, multitasking is great. But if you're doing all those things and never completing anything, not good. So you'll have to figure that out for yourself. What do you think is being productive? If you need it, is being lazy unproductive? No. And it's also not being lazy, it's just taking downtime. I honestly have always said that taking downtime is just as an important part of the creative process, because you're not going to feel your most creative or productive or do as good work if you feel like crap. When you like deprive yourself of work, then you're like so ready to work. So like if you're feeling burnt out and you can afford the time, take downtime. You need to take care of yourself so that you can create your best work, you know? Finished. Bye. If you have anything to say about how you stay productive or any other questions, put them in the comments. I'm sure other people would want to answer them or read them. I want to read how you stay productive because I've always got more stuff to learn. You know what I mean? I could be more productive. But yeah, I hope this helped. I hope it's going to help you guys stay on track if you need to. I hope it's going to help you guys jump back into work when the time comes. This is something that people have asked me a lot about, and I just think that it was the right time to post about it. So I hope that you enjoyed my insight. I mean, I've perfected my methods, so I was happy to share it with you, but just don't tell anyone about it, okay? It's our secret. Oh wait, is it still filming? So yesterday I got rid of this villager that I really wanted to leave. She was I really didn't like her. She was like a pink panda. Like she was okay, but she didn't match like my island, and she was just a bit I didn't like her, okay?
Sha'an?
I've been trying for weeks.
Sha'an?
Wait!
Sha'an,
I need to let
end
them.
it.
No! I've been trying for weeks to kick her off my island. Finally, she gets that beige cloud. I'm like, yes? Honey!
Sha'an.
No, baby, wait! She gets that beige cloud on her head and then she finally leaves and I get this yellow kangaroo. So, and the yellow kangaroo has this beautiful yellow house. It was just the best thing ever. After weeks of torture, I get a yellow kangaroo. Anyway, bye!